Don't buy what you think is safe. The candy bursting with colors, the creamy snack cake, the soda glowing neon. Across Europe and Asia, these foods are shut down, branded toxic. In America, they're still icons, filling lunchboxes and grocery aisles. Why would nations ban what we proudly eat? What terrifying evidence have regulators ignored? What are they hiding? And how much time do we have left before the truth finally erupts? Every morning in America, families reach for a box of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. The smiling tiger beams, milk pours, sugar glitters on golden corn. For decades, this ritual has meant safety, comfort, childhood. But behind the grin lies a chemical secret that Europe has already banished. The sweetness hides BHA and BHT, preservatives designed to keep cereal crisp for months. In the United States, they are stamped generally recognized as safe. But once inside the body, these molecules do not simply disappear. They slip through the gut, travel the bloodstream, and embed in fat and hormone-sensitive organs. There, they begin to distort the very signals that keep the human body balanced. The first warnings are almost invisible. A child restless in class, sudden fatigue before lunch, unexplained cramps. Parents dismiss it as sugar rush or stress. Yet toxicologists describe a darker process unfolding. Hormones slowly skewed, inflammation left unresolved, cells pressured to divide when they should rest. It is not poison that kills overnight. It is a whispering corruption, reshaping the body molecule by molecule. Over years, the consequences multiply. Insulin signals dull, weight clings harder, hunger returns too quickly. Puberty shifts off course. The risk of infertility rises. And in some cases, those restless cells mutate into malignant tumors. What began as a cheerful breakfast transforms, step by step, into the architecture of disease. Europe drew the line. In France, Germany, and the UK, Frosted Flakes are reformulated. Same tiger, same packaging, but stripped of the preservatives their scientists refuse to tolerate. In America, nothing changes. The mascot still roars, the boxes still sell, and the quiet countdown continues in the bodies of children. The most chilling truth: if a simple bowl of cereal, an icon of American mornings, can plant such dangers, what about the colorful candies that shine even brighter, promise even more joy, and may conceal threats far worse? The next revelation will not only disturb, it will terrify. They are everywhere. Movie theaters, vending machines, Halloween buckets. Skittles, with their promise to taste the rainbow, look like harmless fun. Children love their glossy colors. Parents toss them into lunchboxes without hesitation. But beneath the playful shell lurks a chemical recipe so alarming that Europe has already shut its doors. Each candy is coated with synthetic dyes, red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, born not from fruit, but from petroleum. In the United States, they are waved through as safe, yet studies show troubling effects. At first, it looks like simple hyperactivity. A child unable to focus, sudden mood swings, tantrums that come from nowhere. Teachers label it behavioral. Parents call it too much sugar. But hidden inside is something darker. Chemicals altering neurological signals, nudging the brain off balance. Over time, the risks deepen. Researchers have linked these dyes to immune disruption, allergic reactions, and even tumor growth in animal studies. Pediatricians in Europe demanded action. Regulators forced warning labels on foods containing such dyes, and in Norway and Austria, they were banned outright. but the American rainbow kept shining. Even more chilling is titanium dioxide, or E171, used to make Skittles sparkle unnaturally bright. In 2022, European scientists declared there was no safe level of exposure, fearing DNA damage and genetic mutations. The EU banned it completely. Yet in America, children still pour these candies into their hands, swallowing invisible shards that may lodge in tissues and leave scars time will only reveal. Picture the betrayal. Joy painted in neon colors, sold as innocence, while the body quietly absorbs a chemical storm. What looks like fun may in fact be the opening act of long-term harm. And if candy, the symbol of childhood happiness, can conceal such risks, what about the snack cakes that adults and children alike devour daily? The next revelation is sweeter, softer, but its danger may cut even deeper. Few snacks are as deeply American as the Golden Twinkie. Born in the Great Depression, it became an icon of comfort, lunchboxes, and after-school indulgence. Soft sponge cake, creamy filling. On the surface, it is harmless nostalgia. But inside, the Twinkie carries a cocktail of chemicals that many nations refuse to allow. The problem begins with its synthetic dyes and preservatives. Twinkies rely on red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, the same dyes that Europe tied to hyperactivity, immune disruption, and potential carcinogenic effects. At first, the signs are brushed off. Children jittery after a snack, difficulty concentrating, sudden rashes. Parents blame sugar, teachers blame discipline. But beneath those excuses lies something far more insidious: chemicals rewriting biological signals, step by step. Then comes the slow corrosion. Hormonal pathways are distorted, creating ripple effects in metabolism and growth. Repeated exposure leaves the body's immune system on edge, more prone to allergic responses. Studies suggest long-term consumption may even scar DNA, laying the groundwork for malignant change years later. The Twinkie's long shelf life is another red flag. It endures not through freshness, but through BHT, a preservative classified as an endocrine disruptor. Scientists fear it meddles with reproductive hormones, tilting the odds toward infertility and developmental problems. While Europe restricts it, America waves it through, ensuring the golden cake remains immortal on supermarket shelves. This is how comfort becomes danger. A snack built to last forever may slowly shorten the future of those who eat it. And still, commercials sell it as joy, nostalgia, survival. Families smile while their bodies absorb the hidden cost. If something as beloved and iconic as a Twinkie can mask chemicals with such devastating potential, what about its chocolate-coated cousin, another childhood favorite, swirling with cream and danger? The truth there may be even harder to swallow. A swirl of sponge, a ribbon of cream, a glossy chocolate shell. On the surface, the Little Debbie Swiss roll looks harmless, even comforting. Generations of children have unwrapped the foil, taken a bite, and smiled. But inside this soft sweetness lurks a darkness regulators overseas have tried to keep from their citizens. The rich chocolate coating hides synthetic dyes, red 40, yellow 5, blue 1, substances derived not from cocoa but from petroleum. In the United States, they are sprinkled into cakes without hesitation, but in Europe, they are restricted or banned, tied to hyperactivity, allergic reactions, and potential carcinogenic effects. The first signs often go unnoticed: a child suddenly unable to concentrate, strange rashes on the skin, tantrums after snack time. Easy to blame on sugar, harder to admit it could be the cake itself. Preservatives extend the Swiss roll's life far beyond what fresh food should endure. These additives, flagged as endocrine disruptors, creep quietly into the body's systems. Over months and years, they may distort hormonal signals, alter puberty timing, and chip away at fertility. Pediatric experts warn that exposure in childhood lays invisible tracks that only reveal themselves in adulthood, as chronic illness, as cancers, as struggles that seem to appear from nowhere. This is the cruel paradox. What is marketed as a reward may instead be a slow betrayal, a bite of happiness carrying risks that cling long after the sweetness fades. Meanwhile, in Europe, many of these additives are banned or strictly labeled. The packaging may look similar, but the recipe is safer. American children are left with the more dangerous version, unprotected. And if a simple snack cake can disguise so much harm, what about the sodas millions drink every single day? Behind their fizz may lie chemicals even more alarming, substances once linked to industries far outside food. A bright orange can, fizzing with bubbles, promising joy. Fanta Orange has been sold for generations as pure fun. Kids sip it at birthday parties, teens chug it after school, families keep it in the fridge. But behind the cheerful branding lies a disturbing truth. In Europe, Fanta is made differently. Same can, same logo, but two recipes, one safer, one more dangerous. And Americans are the ones drinking the riskier version. In the United States, Fanta Orange glows with synthetic dyes like Yellow 6 and Red 40 and is loaded with high fructose corn syrup. At first, the effects are easy to overlook. Kids too restless to sit still, sudden headaches, stomach discomfort dismissed as too much sugar. But pediatricians warn these dyes interfere with brain chemistry, fueling hyperactivity, mood swings, and allergic responses. Over years, researchers have tied them to tumor formation in animals and potential DNA damage in humans. Then comes the sugar. High fructose corn syrup floods the liver, driving fat storage, fueling insulin resistance. Slowly, the groundwork for obesity, diabetes, and fatty liver disease is laid, diseases that are now epidemic in America. Every sip may feel refreshing, but deep inside, organs are being forced into overdrive. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Coca-Cola was forced to reformulate. European Fanta uses real fruit juice and natural colors. Two children can hold the same can, one in Paris and one in Chicago. One drinks fruit, the other ingests chemicals. The betrayal could not be clearer. Corporations know how to make it safer. They already do. Yet in America, they continue to sell the hazardous formula, shielded by weak regulation. If a simple soda can disguised this risk behind its fizz, what about the neon green drink that follows? A beverage so notorious, its very formula once included a chemical cousin of flame retardants. Glowing neon green, buzzing with caffeine, Mountain Dew is more than a soda. It is a cultural icon. Gamers swear by it, teenagers grab it at gas stations, and commercials sell it as fuel for thrill seekers. But behind the electrifying image hides a formula so alarming that Europe and Japan banned one of its key ingredients decades ago. For years, Mountain Dew in the United States contained brominated vegetable oil, a compound originally patented as a flame retardant. Its purpose in soda? To keep citrus flavor evenly suspended. At first, the effects are subtle. Headaches dismissed as dehydration, tremors mistaken for nerves, fatigue brushed off as lack of sleep. But inside the body, bromine atoms accumulate in fatty tissues, the thyroid, even the brain. Over time, symptoms worsen. studies have linked high exposure to skin lesions, memory loss, nerve damage, and disruptions of thyroid function, the gland that governs metabolism and growth. Imagine drinking what feels like pure energy, only to find your body slowing, your hormones faltering, your mind clouded. Pediatric toxicologists warned that long-term consumption could rewire development in ways that cannot be undone. By the 2010s, consumer pressure finally forced PepsiCo to remove BVO from Mountain Dew. But the story doesn't end there. Critics note the soda still carries an extreme load of caffeine, artificial flavors, and dyes tied to hyperactivity and organ stress. The danger is no longer just what was inside, it is the legacy of what corporations were willing to sell, knowing full well that other nations had declared it unsafe. This is the darker truth. If America's most popular sodas once contained flame-retardant chemicals, how many other everyday foods hide equally shocking secrets? The next revelation takes us from neon fizz to golden pastries, a sweet snack Americans trust, yet one built on ingredients that may cut even deeper into human health. Few snacks feel as comforting as a warm Pop-Tart popping from the toaster. Frosted, fruity, portable, it has been an American staple since the 1960s. Millions of children rush out the door with one in hand thinking it's breakfast. But beneath the sweetness and convenience lurks a set of chemicals so troubling that Europe has already banned them. Pop-Tarts are infamous for their synthetic dyes and preservatives. The frosting often includes red 40, yellow 6, and blue 1, petroleum-based chemicals linked to hyperactivity, allergic responses, and even tumor formation in lab animals. At first, the warning signs seem minor. A child unable to concentrate in school, sudden rashes, stomach aches dismissed as just sugar. Yet repeated exposure means the body is forced to adapt to chemical interference day after day. More alarming is propylparaban, a preservative banned from European food since 2006. In the US, it still lingers in snack cakes like Pop-Tarts. Toxicologists warn it can mimic estrogen, disturbing hormonal balance. Early effects may include irregular puberty timing, fertility issues, and metabolic shifts. Over years, the risks deepen. Altered reproductive health, weakened immune defenses, and even the possibility of hormone-dependent cancers. What looks like a harmless pastry may be quietly rewriting the body's future. The betrayal grows sharper when you realize the double standard. In Europe, stricter laws forced Kellogg's to remove these additives. In America, the packaging and mascots remain cheerful, the recipe unchanged. Children here receive the version other nations refuse to allow. This is the cruel paradox. Joy marketed as convenience, danger disguised as sweetness. Every bite carries a hidden cost the body may not reveal until years later. And if something as small as a toaster pastry can reach so deeply into the body's hormonal systems, what about the meat and poultry that sit at the very center of the American dinner plate? The next revelation exposes dangers not in snacks, but in the very protein families eat every day. On countless American dinner tables, chicken reigns supreme. Affordable, versatile, considered healthier than red meat. Brands like Tyson dominate supermarkets. Families roast it, grill it, fry it. But across the Atlantic, much of this chicken would never be allowed to enter. Europe has banned it for decades, not because of taste, but because of what happens after slaughter. Most American poultry is washed in chlorine baths, a practice designed to kill surface bacteria. Regulators in the US claim it is harmless, but European authorities argue otherwise. Chlorine doesn't erase what it hides. The chemical rinse masks unsanitary farming conditions, overcrowded barns, and birds raised in environments where pathogens thrive. Killing bacteria at the end does not undo contamination at the source. For consumers, the risks build quietly. At first, there may be mild stomach distress, unexplained cramps, or recurring bouts of food poisoning. Over time, exposure to resistant bacteria becomes more likely. Experts warn that such practices accelerate the global crisis of antibiotic resistance, where infections no longer respond to treatment. Infections once curable with a pill can become life-threatening battles. Even more disturbing are the whispers about chlorine byproducts. Studies suggest they may form compounds linked to cancer risk. The idea of feeding children meat scrubbed with chemicals once used in swimming pools horrifies European regulators. So much so that since 1997, chlorinated chicken has been barred from EU markets. Yet in America, it remains a staple. This is not just about one meal. It is about a system willing to disguise danger with chemicals rather than fix its roots. Families eat what looks like nourishment but may be ingesting the legacy of industrial shortcuts. And if even chicken, the supposed healthy meat, carries such risks, what about the milk poured daily into millions of American glasses? The next revelation uncovers a hormone injected into cows, one banned almost everywhere else, yet still hidden in the dairy aisle at home. A glass of cold milk, the very symbol of health. Poured over cereal, served in school cafeterias, given to children at bedtime. Americans are told it builds strong bones, fuels growth, ensures vitality. But much of this milk comes from cows injected with RBGH, a synthetic growth hormone banned in Canada, Europe, Japan, and beyond. And the dangers stretch far beyond the barn. RBGH forces cows to produce unnaturally high levels of milk, but the cost is cruel. Cows suffer higher rates of mastitis, painful udder infections, requiring more antibiotics. Traces of both hormone and antibiotic can then enter the human food chain. At first, effects are invisible: mild digestive upset, unexplained skin flare-ups, or repeated infections in children. Easy to dismiss, impossible to trace back to the glass of milk. But over years, scientists warn the risks compound. Elevated hormone levels in RBGH milk include IGF-1, a growth factor linked to tumor development. Studies suggest prolonged exposure could raise risks of breast, prostate, and colon cancers. Meanwhile, the heavier use of antibiotics drives drug-resistant bacteria, creating infections that modern medicine may no longer be able to cure. This is the paradox. Milk sold as a foundation of health may quietly undermine it. Parents pour it into cereal, thinking they are building strength, while hidden molecules rewrite the body's chemistry. In Europe, such milk is outlawed. In America, labels rarely disclose the truth. Consumers cannot even choose. The cartons in the supermarket look identical whether the cows were treated with RBGH or not. The betrayal is not only scientific but moral. A drink marketed as purity may instead carry the seeds of disease. And if milk, the most trusted staple of childhood, is compromised, what of the pork that fills American plates, raised with chemicals banned in nearly 160 nations? The final revelation may be the darkest yet. On millions of American dinner tables, pork is the centerpiece. Bacon at breakfast, ham at holidays, chops sizzling on the grill. Brands like Smithfield dominate the market, feeding families every day. But hidden inside this meat is a drug so controversial that nearly 160 countries, Europe, China, Russia among them, have banned it outright. Its name is ractopamine. Ractopamine is fed to pigs to accelerate muscle growth, producing leaner meat in less time. For producers, it means profit. For consumers, it means exposure to a chemical never approved for human use outside the United States. The first signs are subtle: a racing heartbeat after a heavy meal, Trembling hands dismissed as stress, unexplained nausea. Few ever suspect the pork on their plate. Inside the animal, ractopamine disrupts normal metabolism, raising adrenaline-like effects. Residues of the drug survive cooking, entering the human bloodstream. Scientists warn of risks to cardiovascular health, irregular heartbeat, spikes in blood pressure, increased stress on the heart. For those already vulnerable, the danger is magnified. Over years, repeated exposure may erode the body's defenses, paving the way for chronic illness and even sudden cardiac events. But the danger doesn't end with the eater. Farm workers handling treated animals report dizziness, chest pains, and fainting spells. The drug not only contaminates food, it endangers those forced to administer it. Meanwhile, global trade wars rage because other nations refuse to accept U.S. pork, calling it unsafe for their citizens. And yet in America, the shelves are full. Families eat pork every day, unaware they may be ingesting a substance the rest of the world rejected decades ago. This is the final betrayal. Not candy, not cereal, not soda, but the very meat that defines the American table. If pork itself can carry such hidden peril, then perhaps the most terrifying question remains: how much of our daily food is safe at all? Or are we already living inside a slow-motion catastrophe? We began with the simple bowl of cereal and ended at the very heart of the American dinner table. 10 foods, each woven into daily life, each carrying chemicals that Europe, Asia, and much of the world have already banned. From breakfast flakes to neon sodas, from candy rainbows to pork chops, behind every smile, every ad, every mascot, there is a hidden cost. The pattern is unmistakable. Minor symptoms dismissed as sugar rush or fatigue, then years of exposure slowly carving illness into the body. Hormones skewed, DNA scarred, organs pushed toward failure. By the time the damage appears, the connection to food is long forgotten. Other nations demanded change. America did not. Corporations reformulate safer recipes abroad, yet still sell us the more dangerous version at home. That is not an accident, it is a betrayal. So ask yourself, how many more products hide the same secret? How much of what we eat is already rewriting our future? If you believe these truths should not remain hidden, help expose them. Like this video, share it, and subscribe. Because the more voices demand answers, the harder it will be for corporations and regulators to stay silent. Together, we decide whether the next bite is safe or another step deeper into catastrophe.